So we've seen some huge boosts in senatorial polling, and it looks like it's now in the Democrats' favor to hold the Senate in the 2022 midterms, which is pretty incredible because usually both the House and Senate go in the opposite direction of the president that won in the previous election of their party. And so even the fact that the Senate is looking like it's going to stay in the hands of the Democratic Party is pretty incredible. But that leads people to ask, could they hold the House too? Because then they would still have all, of the necessary branches to pass things, which would be quite incredible. And so Pelosi was asked about this. And right now, the polling, as we'll show you after this clip, is still in the Republicans' favor significantly. But we're seeing some indicators that possibly there's a chance in the world, even though it would be quite crazy. So first, here's Pelosi saying, no, we intend on holding the House, which is kind of her job to say, but we'll still let her speak her mind.
I know we're not here in a political venue, so I would hesitate to go too far down the path, but two of you asked. And we have absolutely every intention of holding the House, and the path to that victory comes right through Colorado.
Republican states.
So Pelosi is saying they have every intention of holding the House. We have seen a series of special elections that have gone more in the Democrats' favor than polling expected. And I think it's partly because there's a lot of people who aren't put into the polling calculus because they're not likely voters in most elections, primarily women who are turning out because of the Roe v. Wade news. And then you add on top of that a pretty profound concern with the threat to our democracy. We saw that's ranked right now as the top issue in the country, which shocks me, especially considering all of the concerns around inflation and stuff. And so then the recent New York race where this Democratic underdog who had not led in a single poll against the Republican opposition ended up winning. So what do you think, Ruminate? You think there's a chance that Democrats could continue to hold the House, Senate, and presidency?
I am a cynic by nature. So it's always, glass half empty kind of guy. I gotta tell you, I feel a little lighter in general. I mean, I really do. So, I try not to obsessively hover over 538, but I've been glancing at it a lot more here lately, just to see what's going on, and seeing those numbers shift blue or shift less red in the event of the House is great. Like you said, there's always that historical precedent of, the American populace tends to, I don't want to say punish, but balance, I suppose, the victors of the previous presidential election by awarding additional seats in both chambers to the losing party, which in this case would be the Republicans. But the fact that we have a two-third of majority in terms of 538's outcome, that 2 out of the 3 races, according to 538, we're favored to win in the Senate. That's incredible. That's insane. And absolutely bodes well. Now, the numbers are still pretty steep. I think we're only favored to win 1 out of every 4, aggregate scenarios in the House.
Yeah. So let me throw that up on screen for our viewers. As you said, the Senate is looking really, really good right now for the Democrats. The House is still not so much. So as you can see, hovering over 538, obsessing over it is something I love to do. So right now they have it at a 76 out of 100 chances, or 76 out of 100 chance for the Republicans to take over the House, and a 24. So it's about 25%, 75% in the Republicans' favor, which is not great. But again, I'm holding out hope that 2 things happen. The first is that polling keeps going in the Democrats' direction, which we have seen that even with House polling, even it hasn't gotten all the way to where we want it. But then on top of that, when the actual election day comes, Democrats outperform the polls as they've been doing in some of these races. But I don't know. To me, I'm going to be real bummed, even though it would be great to hold the Senate, which is going to be awesome because at least the Republicans won't be able to do too much there. I'm going to be real bummed if the House gets taken by the Republican Party, because that means Joe Biden's presidency over. Democrats' hope of doing anything over. So my only opportunity to be absolutely ecstatic on election night is if both go in the direction of the Democratic Party.
100%. See, that's the thing. I mean, again, I am hyped about the Senate primarily for what it might mean if we also keep the House, because you have to have a complete set, in this political climate, especially. The Republican Party has made it clear it has no interest, especially House Republicans. They're even more, 100%. They are more hyper-partisan than Senate Republicans. And so if we don't have the complete set, to your point, that's the end of President Biden's legislative agenda. And keeping the Senate or expanding our majority, that's great. But unless Republicans get a veto-proof majority in both chambers, it would just basically be a stalemate one way or another. So in order for us to progress, to move forward, we must keep the House. And to your point, 5 special elections where we were expected to lose, or in some cases lose badly, we won. So,
and even in some, I saw that we did end up losing. We at least still outperformed the polls. So some of these close House races where it's a 2, 3, 4% margin right now within the Republicans, towards the Republican side, maybe those go in the Democrats' direction, and that would be wild. I don't know. I'm stressing me out. I don't like it because there's still
that's why I can't.
Couple months.
That's why I can't look at 5:38. You're torturing yourself. How are you sleeping?
I'm not. But we might have one of a very few instances this November where, like we talked about, you don't see that pattern where it flips from the president's party, which I think would reveal the fact that Americans are paying attention more than maybe even I thought they were. So often I talk to people and they're not even aware of the terrible things that have been going on in all these different areas of politics. But it seems like a good chunk of the country, especially with Roe v. Wade being overturned and all of Trump's anti-democratic actions, are waking up a little bit to this kind of threat.
It's like I don't want to call it a perfect storm because storms imply I guess it's a perfect storm for Democrats to wield successfully against Republicans that honestly I don't think any of us were predicting. It did not look good. It did not bode well. And there is still time for the winds to shift, so to speak. And we're not in November yet. It's possible that we choke this advantage, but it's been, like you said, a perfect storm. I mean, gas prices have been dropping consecutively for months. I mean, not like plummeting, but it's just been a steady ratcheting.
Pretty historic drops, though. Usually we don't see gas prices drop this fast. Was it historic in the rate of speed or just like the number of months or both? Because I've heard that it's historic, but I did not pay attention in what regard. Rate of speed was my, which would be how, what's the drop in price over how many days? And then I guess, it could be the consistency, but you can continue.
You don't hear any of that from right-wing media, but yeah. So I mean, there's the PACT Act, which is great for our veterans, and a lot of conservative and moderate voters or people who might be traditionally inclined to vote Republican might take note of that. You've got the CHIPS Act, which is, we're seeing like Intel and other computer companies invest seriously in domestic, semiconductor chip manufacturing and jobs like that. So it's been one W after another for the president. But the thing that surprises me the most is what you said, which was the fact that a recent poll came out and said that the threat to America is the voters' number one
democracy.
Concern. And it should be. It should be, because we say it every time. This election is the most inconsequential. It's the most important. But this one, you could make the argument, it really is. I mean, Republicans, there's no limiting principle. They're definitely going for broke. They're looking to change election laws in this country on a state-by-state basis. You've got a 6-3 conservative supermajority. You've got Moore v. Harper on the horizon, all of which is to say that if we don't keep Congress with a Democratic president, we might lose some serious playing field advantage if Republicans get back in power.
Totally agree with you. And I say so many times to people in my life who are more conservative, you have to be able to set aside right now any policy difference you might have, if you believe that we should have some sort of democratic process, because the whole, is this election the most important? Well, it won't matter for very much longer, because, I mean, we literally had, and I know that conservatives think this sounds hyperbolic, but it's true. We had a president who did everything within his power at the time, while he was president, once he found out that he lost, to stay in power despite the voice of the American people. He cast down the election. No evidence came out to back him up. And to this day, he's claiming he should be put back in power. That's not democracy. It's not.
It's not. He said it, to your point, he said it again the other day about Hunter Biden's laptop.
That's why he has to be put back in power? What?
Yeah, he literally watched, who was it? It was a Mark Zuckerberg on Joe Rogan. And then Trump watched it, President Trump watched it, and he's like, all right, guys, you heard Zuckerberg. They suppressed Hunter Biden's laptop story, so I need to be reinstalled immediately. Imagine if Barack Obama had said that. Imagine if Bill Clinton had said that. There really would be rioting in the streets. There'd be threats of secession. Why are Republicans and Democrats held to different standards of ethical conduct when they occupy seats of power?
And it's almost like we've gotten beaten down so much that as people on the left, we don't like react as we should to some of these crazy revelations. I mean, I saw that Truth Social message by Trump, and in my head, intellectually, I thought it was crazy, but I didn't feel anything. I was like, whatever. Yep, he wants to randomly be put back into power as the president, even though it's not even a thing that our Constitution lays out. Randomly, midterm of a president, you just install a different guy. Who would do that? What, Congress is going to pass a bill that Trump, needs to be president again, Bill?
Well, it's like a sports match, right? So, like, Biden would be waiting near, like, the bench, Trump would be, I guess. Biden would run off the court. They'd high five.
Tap.
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre. But to your point, we are so desensitized to it. We really are. And that in and of itself is dangerous. Mm-hmm. But he shattered a 250-year tradition that began with President Washington of the peaceful transfer of power.
Yes.
No Democrat has come close to that. No Republican, even President Nixon, read the cards and resigned. And his Republican Party, the Nixon era Republican Party, held Nixon accountable. Where are Nixon era Republicans here holding Trump accountable?
They're gone.